Okay, so this video is about discontinuous change and globalization in a context of globalization, which causes a lot of discontinuous change because of all the diversity coming together. Every nation state is sovereign and independent. That means that they make the rules and they decide how they want to create their little reality. They are in charge of their destiny. And if we can imagine all the states, let's say 200 states, nation states in the world, and we're in a block of flats with 200 apartments, and each apartment will have its diversity, its different ways of doing things, its different values and different routines. The English, for example, they generally eat late in the evening, and the Italians eat earlier. And for the Italians, it's very important. Normally, people eat together around a table, whereas the English may be a little different. They might eat on the sofa in front of the telly or even in front of the computer doing their work. They value very highly, hard work, whereas the Italians value very highly that little moment together in the evening. And there will be a completely different culture in the different apartments. Okay, so now in our thought experiment, let's imagine that the walls disappear and it becomes one reality instead of 200. And suddenly we can organize ourselves together and we can be part of one reality and organize ourselves in a totally different way. Now, those walls represent time and distance, because those were the barriers between us, between the nations. We couldn't really connect and collaborate in real time in a global arena. Now we have the technology, but also the language. There is an international language, English. We can really communicate and collaborate and connect and organize ourselves in a different way. And you do see this in the world. The economy, for example, now you have a company building something with materials all over the world, and all over the world maybe they're doing different operations on that product. Maybe a car, maybe in Italy Fiat can build the engine, in Brazil they build the bodywork, in England they put it together. All the parts come from all over the world, so we are able to connect and collaborate, and we've built these supply lines which crisscross our nations and created a global economy, a global arena which has global institutions governing it. So like the International Court and the World Trade Organization and the United Nations and all these different means, the G20 and the G7, all these different structures. We can even think European Union is an international institution. So this is globalization. This is what's happened. The walls have disappeared and suddenly we have to do things in a different way. We don't need to do things in that, 200 different realities, very separate realities. There have been lots of opportunities to do things in a better way and to overcome the distance and the time, the walls that were between us. Now, in this process of globalizing, people will find it very uncomfortable. Um, every nation would have to find a different role in the international arena. So they would have to play, we are building a different reality together, and each nation would find its role in this big collaboration, this big project. And many people would, be worrying about losing their identity and the fact that they're losing their jobs because the jobs, of engineering are going over abroad to China. And they have to find another role in life. Letting go of our individual realities means we've got to construct together a bigger reality, which means we're going to do things in a different way. And we do find now that people are trying to build walls, to rebuild the separations. They want, this globalization to stop, especially the old people who are attached to the old reality and don't want to change. This really is bringing discontinuous change. And there is a lot of resistance, especially also for people that are less skilled and unable to compete, directly with the Chinese on wages, and so are being left behind. And so, there's a lot of resistance. And we've seen this in the Brexit, in Trump, in the general trend towards the extreme right, which want to go back to our traditional, very independent, sovereign nations. We want to become sovereignists again. So, but we can't go back because the walls have gone. It's very easy for people you can't build walls in the virtual reality. Very easy for people to connect and collaborate outside the nation state container. So going back will mean big problems and big, wars, depressions, serious problems, deep problems. We can only go forwards. Okay, so being diverse brings specialization and specific competencies. The Italians quite often are a center for design, beauty, lifestyle products like food, ice cream. Then you've got the English, which are very good at systems like legal systems and financial systems, and we've become the financial hub. Japan is excellent at robotics. The Americans use their initiative to bring change. Some countries haven't so much to offer. Maybe Vietnam and Bangladesh, they've become a bit of the factory of the world. But this is the point, they've all got a position in a global arena. The global effort is to produce a global pill, and we are all becoming interdependent and interconnected. So, one problem will affect the whole of the world now. There's a crisis in Greece that spreads very quickly because we've all got our roles, and once a nation's got problems, that will bring problems to the whole production process, which spans over continents. The production often is done over many countries. So, yes, we can see, if we want to look ahead for the world, we can see the European Union as a kind of beacon for the world in terms of globalization, because it's actually much further down the road in terms of this globalized environment. We've actually literally disappeared or made all the barriers disappear. And as in the picture we can see, it's possible for anyone to go wherever they like and to set up business wherever they like if you're in the European Union, to live wherever you like, study, retire wherever you like. There are no barriers anymore. And these are countries which, full of diversity from each other, literally integrated into one common space. So the European Union is a model which the world can look at and see, is it possible? What would happen? Obviously, to live together in this one space, you need to share the same values. I mean, if you couldn't have, Iran, which values religion to the extreme, you integrating totally with, another country that doesn't, that's very free, has a very secular state, like Finland or something like that, very secular state, and what would happen? They just wouldn't be able to make the same rules, because it's the rules that enforce the values. So you do need the common values. Otherwise, you're not going to come up with common rules. You're not going to agree on a political direction, a common destiny for the country. You'll be naturally pulling apart. But the European Union does believe that their values are universal. It's not just for areas of the world. We believe, solidarity, freedom, a free market, human rights, they're all universal values. Peace, obviously, is the number one, and that is a universal value, and so we can live together. So we've got to remember that's the most fundamental thing, having the same values, and it does bring, prosperity and peace if you have the right values. If you value human rights and democracy, then you will, and you are put in the same juridical system, you will tend to have a solidarity to look out for the global interest, not just your national interest. It will destroy this national egoism, which is really probably the biggest killer human beings have ever had. More people have died from national egoism than any famine, disease, or drought or natural disaster. National egoism is very dangerous. And that was the purpose of the European Union. And that was literally globalization in turbo. Okay, really intense globalization. So all the borders disappeared. So we can say, it's a model that will be beneficial to everyone on the earth, that, we all have prosperity and peace. But obviously the initial phases of globalization is difficult, and we are seeing that right now. Okay, so let me just explain. It's not just unity that's important. The diversity, maintaining diversity, is incredibly important in this process of globalization, because it's that which gives us synergy. I've explained in the last video that, in a team, if you're all very similar, you don't really come out with many ideas. It's the diversity in a team that produces that bigger collective intelligence, the ability to see things in different ways. If you're all very similar, you'll all see things in the same way. So that diversity is very precious and has a lot of value. And that brings synergy. So this globalization should be quite a process of developing prosperity. And we can also see that in the European Union. Now, the European Union motto is unity in diversity. I think by eliminating the rules, not the rules, the walls, eliminating the walls and really integrating into one system, one juridical system. So, we're making our own laws in one parliament, supranational laws. And in this way, we can bring all our different worldviews together and create an incredibly expanded collective intelligence. So that is the model for the world, really, to follow. If we can find, first of all, universal values that we can create rules to enforce, and at the same time allow these walls to come down and intensify the collaboration and connection between us, the whole world should experience peace and prosperity from that process.